Welcome to my channel everyone. I am Ramanpreet Kaur and today I am giving a quick revision of class 12 psychology chapter number 1, variation in psychological attributes. Now let's begin. Now individual differences. What are individual differences? Actually individual differences refers to distinctiveness, matlab differences. There are differences in every individual and variation among people characteristics and behavior patterns. Everybody has different characteristics and they varies in their behavior. Now, there are approaches that explain individual differences. They are trait approach, situationism, and situationist perspective. Now, trait approach, it contains personal traits that cause change in behavior. It is also known as internal factors. Now, situationism. Situationism is a view that states that situation and circumstances in which one is placed, it influences one's behavior. Now, the situationist perspective views human behavior relatively more as a result of influence of external factors than personality traits. इट मीन्स कि जो ह्यूमन बिहेवियर है ना ये ज़्यादा डिपेंड करता है एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर्स पे. दिस सिचुएशनिज्म कि जो जब कि कोई किसी सिचुएशन में होता है तो वो कैसे बिहेव करेगा. नाउ यू नो व्हाट इज असेसमेंट. असेसमेंट इज प्रिडिक्टिंग फ्यूचर बिहेवियर. किसी एक को असेस करना. इट इज द फर्स्ट स्टेप इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग अ साइकोलॉजिकल एट्रीब्यूट. व्हेनेवर अ पर्सन केम, psychologists first assess that what they are suffering from, what their behavior is by talking to them. Now, one is formal assessment and the other one is informal assessment. Formal assessment is objective, standardized and organized. They can only perform by psychologists that are trained in, informal assessment. It varies from case to case, from one assessor to another, and it is open to subjective interpretation. Now, there are some domains of psychological attributes. The very first one is intelligence. It is a global capacity, to understand the world, think rationally, and use what? The available resources that are available to us in an effective manner. Now, what is the use of this? It provides a global measure of general cognitive competence. You just have to do this much. Now, aptitude. What is aptitude? It is an individual's underlying potential for acquiring skills. In short, aptitude is potential of an individual and it is used to predict an individual's capability, in given environment and given training. Now, the third one is interest. Now, it is an individual's preference for engaging in one or more specific activities. It helps us to decide that what we can pursue as a career in future. Now, personality. It is relatively enduring characteristics of a person that make him or her distinct from others. Personality varies from person to person. No person is same. And it measures unique characteristics that explains and predicts future behavior. Now, the fifth one is values. Now, what are values? They are enduring beliefs about an ideal mode of behavior. It determines the dominant value of a person. Now let's talk about assessment methods. When we assess people, now what are the methods we consider in it? The very first one is psychological test, which is objective, standardized, and measures an individual's mental or behavioral characteristics. It is used in clinical diagnosis, guidance, person selection, placement, and training. Now, the second one is interview. In interview, we seek information from a person on one-to-one basis. The one person asks questions and the other one give answers to that. Use. Where it is used? It is used in counselor-client interaction, employee selection and journalism. Now, case study. You know what is case study? It is an in-depth study of the individual in terms of psychological attributes. These case studies are used in clinical psychologists. The fourth one is observation. Observation is observing people in a natural, in real time. Naturally observing people. And there are some disadvantages of observation. An observer has little control over the situation, it has no control, and reports may suffer from subjective interpretation of the observer. Now, self-report. Self-report means that the report which is given by a person himself or herself, that is factual information about himself, opinions and beliefs. It is obtained by an interview, scheduled questionnaire, psychological test. Now, let's study about intelligence. Now, finally, what is intelligence? Psychologist Weschler, he defined intelligence as the global and aggregate capacity of an individual to think rationally, act purposefully, and to deal effectively with her environment. This is the definition which you have to learn. And he understood intelligence in terms of functionality. It is the most widely used test by Weschler. Now, Gardner and Sternberg, these are the psychologists which gives the definition of intelligence. They said that intelligent individual, not only adapts to the environment, but also actively modifies or shapes it. Now, there are approaches to study intelligence. One is psychometric, which is also known as structural approach, and the second one is information processing approach. Now, let's study first what is psychometric. Structural approach. It considers intelligence as an aggregate of abilities. In psychometric approach, it expresses an individual's performance in terms of a single index. This is very important. Single index of cognitive abilities. And what it focuses on? It focuses on knowing the structure of intelligence. Now, information processing approach. It describes the processes used in intellectual reasoning and problem solving. उन प्रोसेसेस को डिस्क्राइब करता है जो यूज होते हैं इंटेलेक्चुअल रीजनिंग में और प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग में, एंड इट फोकसेस ऑन हाउ एन इंटेलिजेंट पर्सन एक्ट्स, emphasizes studying cognitive functions. Now, let's study theories of intelligence. Psychometric approach. There are 6 theories come under this psychometric approach. One is unifactor or one-factor theory, which is given by Alfred Binet. Definition which he gave is the ability to judge well, understand well, and reason well. He was the first psychologist who formalized the concept of intelligence in terms of mental operations, and he differentiated more intelligent person from a less intelligent person. Conceptualized intelligence as consisting of one similar set of abilities which can be used for solving any or every problem in an individual's environment. The second one is two-factor theory, which is given by Charles Spearman in 1927. Charles Spearman employed a statistical method which called factor analysis. In two-factor theory, there are 2 factors. Which 2 factors? The one is G factor and the other one is S factor. G factor stands for general factor and S factor stands for specific factors. G factor, it includes mental operations which are primary and common to all performances. What is S factor? S factor includes specific abilities which allow individuals to excel in their respective domains. Now, the third theory is theory of primary mental abilities, which is given by Louis Thurston. It consists of 8. First one is verbal comprehension. What is verbal comprehension? Verbal comprehension is grasping meanings of words, concepts and ideas. Second is numerical abilities. Numerical abilities होती हैं speed, accuracy, numerical, computational skills. Third is spatial relations, which is visualizing pattern and forms, which is related to space. Perceptual speed, speed in perceiving details. Word fluency. Word fluency is using words fluently and flexibly. Memory, accuracy in recalling information. Inductive reasoning. What is inductive reasoning? Deriving general rules from presented facts. Now, with this, we have completed 3 theories, and the fourth one is hierarchical model of intelligence, which is given by Arthur Jensen. He said that abilities operated at 2 levels. The very first one is associative learning and the second one is cognitive competence. Associative learning. In this, he said that output is equal to input and it is also called rote memory. In cognitive competence, he said that output, is more than input. Now, the fifth theory is structure of intellect model, J.P. Guilford in 1988. He classifies intellectual traits among three dimensions. Actually, इसने three dimensions दी, which is operation, contents and products. What are operations? Operations है कि respondent ने क्या किया, what the respondent does. Example है इसका cognition या memory retention. Contents है nature of material or information on which intellectual operations are performed. Example visual, auditory. Now, the third dimension is products. It is a form in which information is processed by the respondent. In example, you can write relation, system and transformation. J.P. Guilford in its classification includes 6 into 5 into 6 categories, and the model has 180 cells. Each cell is expected to have at least one factor or ability. Now, we have completed psychometric approach, and now we are going towards information processing approach. The first theory of which come under information processing approach is theory of multiple intelligence, which is given by Howard Gardner. It is the most important theory in psychology actually. So, according to Howard Gardner, he said that intelligence is not a single entity. Rather, distinct types of intelligence exist. In psychometric approach, we study that intelligence जो है वो single entity है. And in information processing, Howard Gardner said that intelligence is not a single entity. Intelligence exists in different types. There are different types of intelligences and they are independent of each other. Now, let's study. The first one which comes under this is linguistic. Linguistic is the capacity to use language fluently, flexibly, to express one's thinking and understand other. People who are high on this linguistic part are poets and writers. And person high on this are also called word smart. Logical mathematical. Second one is logical mathematical. It includes skills in problem solving, thinking logically, critically, and abstract reasoning. It is present in scientists. Scientists have high in logical mathematical skills. Now, the third one is spatial. Spatial includes spaces, formations, transforming mental images, forming, and persons high on this are sculptors, painters, architects, interior decorators. The fourth one is musical. Now, person who is, high on this, musical, have the capacity to produce, create, manipulate musical rhythms and patterns. The fifth one is bodily kinesthetic. Persons who are high on this now have the best use of whole body or portion of it creatively, flexibly for display, construction of products and problem solving. Persons high on this are dancers, actors and athletes. Now, let's study the sixth one. Sixth one is interpersonal. What is interpersonal? Interpersonal means that understanding the needs, motives, feelings and behavior of other people. The persons high, on this are psychologists, counselor and politicians. Now, intrapersonal. Intrapersonal means refers to the awareness of one's own feelings, motives, desires, knowledge of one's internal strength, limitation. Okay, the persons who are high on this are philosophers. Now, the last one is naturalistic. Naturalistic, the persons high on this naturalistic part now have complete awareness of a relationship with the natural world, environment, sensitivity to the features of the natural world. The persons who are high on this are botanist and zoologist. Now, let's study the second theory which come under information processing approach, that is triarchic theory of intelligence, which is given by Robert Sternberg in 1985. Triarchic theory. What is triarchic theory? It is the ability to adapt, to shape and select environment to accomplish one's goal and those of one society and culture. This is the definition which you have to learn. Now, there are three basic types of intelligence which come under triarchic theory. The very first one is componential intelligence, which is also known as analytical intelligence. Now, it means analysis of information to solve problems. There are three components. The first one is knowledge acquisition, second meta or higher order component, third is performance component. Knowledge acquisition, ये responsible होता है for our learning and acquisition of the ways doing things, and how we do things. Second, meta or high order component, ये planning होती है which concern कि what to do, कि क्या करना क्या है and कैसे करना है. Performance component, we have plan, and performance component actually performing it, actually doing things. Now the second, experiential creative intelligence. In this intelligence now, it means that we use our past experiences creatively to solve novel problems. We integrate different type of experiences in such a way to make new discoveries and inventions. It is to quickly find out what information is crucial in a given situation. I can give you one example of this. Let's imagine that one person is trapped in a room. He can only deal with the situation that time only if he has really seen such a type of situation earlier. He can make a way to get out of that trapped house or a room. So this is experiential, that we can use past experience. The third is contextual or practical intelligence. It is the ability to deal with environmental demands encountered on a daily basis. It is also known as street smartness or business sense. It is to easily adapt to their present environment. Now, the third theory which come under information processing approach is planning, attention arousal, and simultaneous successive, which is past model of intelligence, which is given by J.P. Das, Jack Niglieri, Kirby in 1994. This is very important. Now, it is an intellectual activity which involves interdependent functioning of three neurological systems. कौन से three neurological systems? Arousal, attention, simultaneous and successive processing, and third one is planning. Arousal, attention, enables a person to process information in mind, brain, okay? And optimum level of arousal focus करती है हमारी attention पे to the relevant aspect of the problem. Too much or too little arousal interfere करेगी हमारी attention के साथ, so it is advised to have optimal level of arousal. Now, simultaneous and successive processing. Now, what is simultaneous processing? In simultaneous now, we perceive the relation among various concepts and integrate them into meaningful pattern for comprehension. RSPM is given here, Raven's Standard Progressive Matrices. It is a psychological test. इसमें ये है साइमल्टेनियस में कि हम ना रिलेशन परसीव करते हैं कि अच्छा इस कॉन्सेप्ट में ऐसा है, इस कॉन्सेप्ट में ऐसा है, और उसको इंटीग्रेट करते हैं ताकि उसका एक मीनिंग निकले प्रॉपर. नाउ सक्सेसिव processing. What is successive processing? It means that remember all the information serially so that एक का recall leads to recall of another. ठीक है, recall of one leads to recall of another, like learning of digits, letters. Now the third, planning. Planning is, planning allows us to think of the possible courses of action, implement them to reach a target, evaluate their effectiveness. If a plan does not work, so we should modify it to suit the requirement of the task or situation. So today I am ending my video on this part, and in the next part, we will study about correlation of intelligence. And for more videos like this of psychology and other subjects, please subscribe to my channel and give like and comment as well if you can.